common question I get asked is, how do we have more peer-to-peer recognition happening in my organization? And it's a great question, because what we're seeing is that it happens very rarely. It's very rarely monitored. It's hardly ever resourced, and yet is one of the most effective ways to be able to build a recognition culture. So if you're the one who cannot force people to recognize each other, folks sometimes feel, well, where would I even start? And actually, it does start with you. So I'm going to share with you some of the top ways in which you can fuel in your own way, you can leverage your influence to start peer-to-peer recognition. The most important first step is to go and see where peer-to-peer recognition is happening. See the superstars. What's working well in those areas? They may be able to tell you right away, well, it's because we like each other. It's because we golf with each other outside of work. It's because we are able to create our own schedule. It's going to vary for every team, but study why it already exists and why it's working. So once you've done that, the second thing I'm going to encourage you to do is make sure you're practicing it with your peers. So often we get focused on trying to start a new initiative, but we don't always think about, how can I actually demonstrate that new behavior? And I'm sure you're practicing it. Could you practice it even more and expand your concept of peers? Maybe it's not just the people that you're working with in your team, perhaps other peer departments. And make sure that it's visible. When people see that you're doing it, they're more likely to listen to you and to be more willing to practice it on their own. Because the more you do it, the more it becomes part of the norm. The next thing I'm going to suggest that you do is issue a challenge. See how many folks can demonstrate recognition. So really putting a focus and an emphasis on it for a certain period of time. And then what likely will happen is that it will create a cascade, and folks won't just stop doing it when the challenge is over. So what's the challenge? What could it look like? Why not, encourage people to identify how many times that they've been acknowledged. You could say, try to purposely go out and find 8 colleagues, randomly pick a number. How many colleagues can you find that are demonstrating, and then decide what you think is important? Is it the organization's values? Is it that people who are living the commitments of the team, people who provided the greatest customer service? Issue a challenge that really resonates with folks and that will naturally lend itself well to peer-to-peer recognition. Of course, the next piece I would suggest is catch people in the act. So as you're noticing peer-to-peer recognition, make it really transparent. People may not realize that that's what they're doing. It may just be being nice. Yes, it's nice. And why don't you acknowledge and say, wow, this is amazing, what supportive colleagues you are, in whatever words feel natural to you, so that people realize that that's what they're doing. So being acknowledged for acknowledging others, I appreciate that can sound like it's cascade, but that's a good thing. That's a good thing that we're connecting the dots, that I'm being acknowledged for something that we want to see more of, which in this case is peer-to-peer recognition. The next piece is go out there and find ways to make it visual and really accessible for folks. I love how in previous teams that I've worked with, they've taken bulletin boards, whiteboards, things that already exist in their area, and have just taken it over. The flyers that for 5 years have been up there and nobody looks at anymore, take them all down and make it a peer-to-peer recognition board. And then as that's working, why not have other people contribute as well? Maybe your customers, other departments, you, if you're the leader in the department, and make it a source of pride. If we make it easy for people to see examples of it happening and for them to practice it, there will be fewer barriers that people experience, and then it becomes part of your culture of your team. What other strategies have you seen successfully used to encourage peer-to-peer recognition? Or perhaps you have a program that you can share with us that we would love to learn from. Then please include it in the comment box, and we will spread it out there. In fact, maybe we'll even do a follow-up vlog the more ideas that we get. My name's Sarah McVanel. Be well and be great.